Now I know what you're thinking. Platform fighter? How is that different from a regular fighting game, and why should I care? Everyone knows the most important part of a fighting game is the game's mechanics, how you actually go about fighting your opponent. So we start our dive into platform fighters with that. There are 3 different factors of a platform fighter: how the player dies, how the game controls, and how the player moves. The platform fighter is, as its name suggests, both a fighting game and a platformer at the same time. While in a traditional fighting game like Street Fighter or Tekken, a player dies when their health pool runs out, in a platform fighter, a player dies when their character leaves the boundaries of the screen. A traditional fighting game gives the player a complex set of buttons and an even more complex list of possible combos, making the barrier to entry in these games incredibly high, while a platform fighter in general gives you 1 to 2 attack buttons, a jump button, and a shield or counter button, thus making the barrier to entry much lower in platform fighters. The most important aspect of any platform fighter is its movement. The way the player moves around the screen is what gives the genre its platforming elements. This focus on movement enhances the game's neutral game, the section of a fighting game where neither player has an advantage and are looking to take the advantage. In 1998, Masahiro Sakurai led the development on Dragon King the Fighting Game. In an effort to pitch the game to Nintendo executives, Sakurai replaced some models with famous Nintendo characters. Nintendo loved the game and the character inclusion so much that they demanded the game feature an all-star roster of Nintendo characters. In January 1999, Super Smash Bros. Was released in Japan, making it the birth of the platform fighter genre. Super Smash Bros. Was a relatively simple game with a very limited moveset and only 12 playable characters. Players could run, jump, attack, special attack, shield, and recover, thus creating the baseline requirements for the genre. 2 years later, Sakurai did it again with Super Smash Bros. Melee, adding a much larger cast of 25 characters and the ability to dodge in midair. Players soon found that air dodging into the ground would cause the character to slide across the ground, and thus wave dashing was born. Wave dashing gave players a huge competitive advantage, and as of 2008, with the release of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, was removed due to it, as well as the whole game being dramatically slower than its predecessors. In 2014, the latest iteration of Super Smash Bros. Was released, simply titled Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. The game speed was moved back up, and not quite to the levels of Melee, but it added some other enhancements back into the competitive scene. There are other platform fighters than just Super Smash Bros., perhaps most notably Sony's attempt to do the same thing, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 1 and 2. The key difference here is the player can only be knocked off the screen by a super move, and thus the game felt very grindy to the platform fighting community. Other games include Brawlhalla and Rivals of Aether. These indie games made the correct decisions to focus on how the player moves around. Brawlhalla's movement lends itself to more aerial battles, while Roa's inclusion of the wave dash lends it to gameplay that's fast-paced and ground-based. There are other platform fighters out there, but they're mostly cheap cash grabs. Shrek Super Slam. So that's a platform fighter. If you want more Genre 101, watch Thomas talk about the advent of action RPGs. I'm Josh. Hope you learned something.